Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, we wrap up the week with a Micah Hudson update. How did he impact the pursuit of another portal wide receiver? And other questions answered from the Matador Mob Mailbag. Next on Locked On Texas Tech. Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again and back again for a special edition. It's the Locked On Texas Tech Matador Mob Mailbag, and we got a big stack to get to, so I don't want to waste any time. We will touch on a couple of different fronts. We'll get to continued portal movement. We'll get to a popular conversation of the week, back to the name of Micah Hudson. We'll also discuss the impact of a wide receiver visit last time around, Omari Evans, who winds up committing to be a Washington Husky. So we'll get into some of those dynamics coming up. Also want to talk hoops, of course, as we're getting ready for another hoops weekend, Red Raiders and Cowboys. Questions about surprises to you from this team so far to this point in the season I want to get to in just a moment, but wanted to start in that realm and just kick it off with this question from Hayden. We are seeing these projections as we make our way deeper into the league schedule already, of course. Chris, he wants to talk bracketology. He's just simply asking, what kind of seed are you really thinking maybe Texas Tech could be destined for? Is there a range? Is there one specific number you're seeing more often than not? What's the feel so far?
You still have a long way to go here before you and a lot of games to play that will ultimately determine it. But right now you're looking at somewhere between a 6, 7, 8, 9 in that range. I think what you have is now you're starting to put together some road wins. Obviously, I think you're 4-2 in quad one games. Now, it doesn't mean it will stay that way. That's the way it is right now as we sit here and talk before you play Oklahoma State over the weekend, because teams can play their way in and out of quad one status and all that. That's why you need to be rooting for DePaul to make some upsets. But, on that subject, you just don't have a lot to lean on in your non-conference schedule. You just don't. And that's why you'll get slightly punished from a seeding standpoint, unless you just kind of, you're looking at a 15-5, conference record or something like that. But I think you could get up to the 4 or 5 range, but it would require, I think, you being in that, 14-6, 15-5 range. I don't know what 13-7 gets you. It may be closer to a 6 or 7 seed, something like that. But you're firmly in right now. That's what matters most. You're not going to Dayton. I've already made my one trip to Ohio this year. I don't want to go back. So I think that's what you're so there's a range here, but it's all going to depend on how you finish up, and then what the teams that you beat and the teams that you beat in the non-conference, how they finish up, and it all kind of factors in here.
Thank you for that question, Hayden. This question from Steven. Will we see more realignment this offseason? We get back to these topics this time of year, Chris, and certainly nothing seems set in concrete as we sit here. So what do you think timeline-wise? Too early for some more, or is it possible?
At the Power 4 level, I don't think you'll see anything that is imminent. I think, you could see some stuff with the quote-unquote the Pac-12, the group of 5, some of those things. I don't know if you'll get any bombshells. I think that the discussion of this offseason will entail, this is my prediction, it's gonna be consumed by NCAA and what jurisdiction they or they don't have. It's going to be about revenue sharing, and it's going to be about playoff expansion and what comes with playoff expansion. So do we need to play non-conference games? Do we need to play 8? And we see leagues doing different. Do we still need to have a title game? Do we need to tweak what our title game looks like? I think that's what's going to consume most of the space this offseason. That's my opinion. I think there will be more realignment, like maybe more heavyweight shifts. But I think let the next TV deals come up, and like you get into the expanded playoff a bit more. I think that's off into the 29-30 distance would be my guess.
All right. Thank you, Stephen, for that question. This a popular question this week, Chris, this Micah Hudson universe that we find ourselves plunged back into, I guess, this week. Discussed it on an earlier episode, but heard from Patrick, heard from Jack, Nathan, Austin, Travis, Clay, Jared, Jeffrey, Lisa, Monica, Robert. I may be missing somebody. I'm trying to cover them all, but they're asking about just another update as we wrap up the week on any potential Micah Hudson movement or resolution. And then there's also another angle to this that many asked about. Did a potential Hudson reunion play any role in how the Omari Evans transfer worked out?
All right. So
take a big breath.
I know, golly. Yeah, I've been it's just like, it's amazing how many people that I hear from when stuff like this happens that I haven't heard from in many moons.
They didn't send you a Christmas card?
No, yeah, it's like oh, hey, I hadn't talked to you in a while.
By the way.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's up with the so here's the best way. I'll try to go a bit further than we did last time when we discussed this.
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Whether it's sports, music, comedy, or beyond, we all love going to live events. And now Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature trims all the fat to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You'll always find can't beat deals. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
I'll try to go a bit further than we did last time when we discussed this. He's not back. He's not necessarily even on your campus right now, or that's not even the big picture plan as of yet. I think he still needs a release from Texas A&M. And I will make it clear, I don't think you can rule out a return here again. I think that what people need to understand, though, is that there's a variety of different things that need to be worked through before not just he goes anywhere, but certainly before he comes back here. Okay. But I think there's a variety of things he needs to work through before he can go anywhere. And I think that people need to grasp the possibility that maybe he's just nowhere this spring. Maybe he's like trying to sort everything out, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's probably what I would hope that, maybe football is, I don't want to say like back burner, but because odds are to me, and I think we can ask the question aloud, Cowan, you could make the argument that Texas Tech would be the best place for him to return to or be back, and he should have never left. But you could also make the argument, I think, that maybe this is the worst place that he could come back to. I mean, so I don't know where I stand on that. I just think that I'm prepared to say that I don't know I think it would be a huge upset if he is a major factor in anybody's season this coming fall. I think that if he factors in anywhere, and he could to the contrary, he could factor in heavily somewhere. But that's not that wouldn't be the favorite to me. I think we're a long ways from all these things, and like we're talking football here, because there's plenty of non-football things which allowed you to get to this point. I don't think Amari Evans and the Micah Hudson thing had any sort of before we even knew about was Micah looking at potentially returning, or is that even a possibility? I think that I knew there was always an interest in Amari Evans. it comes down to, can we give you what you want, and do you have what we need? If you're looking for a starting spot, we can't probably give that to you. If you're looking for a whole big bag, we could probably give that to you, but do we want to? Do we risk pissing off like one of our younger receivers, multiple, potential candidates there? And I just didn't get the sense that they brought him in on a visit, so there was some level of interest, but he's going to end up a Washington Husky, and so he stays in the Big Ten. But I don't think one had anything to do with the other.
Okay.
And we get back to, you asked this. If you need to make a spot, there are certain guys who are like, we will figure it out. And I don't know if we were there really if you're there with Micah or with Amari. And again, there's a variety of different reasons as to why on some of that, but definitely interest in both. But it's just funny because like the Micah Hudson thing has got the A&M folks stirred up. I think Baylor's, they're all like, well, we need to get on this deal. Like Texas always thought that he was coming here, our place to begin with. Now you don't hear anything
what does
about
Baylor have to do with it?
Well, because he's located right near, that's where he went to high school, was right near, Temple and all that. So I don't know. TCU apparently
Baylor's just a weird person looking through the outside window while it's raining. They're like Dan Aykroyd in Trading Spaces, drunk in a Santa suit. What are you talking about? You're not in this. What are we talking about?
I don't disagree. Yeah,
I'm glad they had a reason to get stirred up, though.
Yeah.
This is just so perfect. I have to laugh to keep from crying as a Red Raider fan, and I am well practiced in this, by the way. 5-star heralded. Oh, it's supposed to be the highest rated recruit the program's ever landed. Fast forward to the very next spring. What's the conversation? Maybe football is on the back burner for him. What the hell is going on out here, to quote the great Vince Lombardi? I mean, this is just the only way it could work out, I guess, in retrospect. But I'll keep riding this ride until a no is a no. I'll keep riding this ride. So I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm gonna stay buckled into this, I think, for a little while longer.
I mean, and that's I just think if any, I was under the impression, when we first visited about this, that maybe you would get some resolution to this, like in the coming day or three, as this semester kind of starts to, but the more I gather, and again, something could happen like, after we tape or early next week or something to go, okay, this is what he's doing. But it seems like that there's a pretty strong possibility that he could just be nowhere this semester. And that's not a bad thing. Because I think if there's a return to Texas Tech, I think it may be after this semester, if that's the way it ends up happening. And, so we'll just we'll see. There'll come a point where there's not really anything new to offer up, and we're just kind of still waiting and the wait and see part. But I think there's some motivation potentially on both sides of this to seek common ground, and I think there's some parts of this story that never wanted to split, right? And but again, we'll just have to, and there's so much of this is non-football related too. So we'll just kind of see what it looks like. But this won't be the last time that we discuss Micah Hudson on these airwaves, I guess. But you just hope
we'll continue to ask, and I understand why. I mean,
yeah, and I hope the best for the young man, and we'll try to do the best we can on connecting the dots and all those things. But that's what I'm prepared to say at this point.
All right. Thank you all for checking in on that subject. This subject from Leah. Back to hoops. Could you name a biggest surprise for you about this Texas Tech men's basketball team this year? Is there something about them that's caught you off guard?
Can this be like a bad surprise?
I think either way.
Okay.
No rules, just right.
I didn't. I honestly did not think that Kerwin Walton would be in the witness protection program this season. I mean, it's such a good year and productive year last year. I just didn't think that. I mean, because he's still trying. He's just not getting near as many minutes now. I think he's been played out of those minutes, and I just would have thought, because I really would like to see how good you could be if everybody else has it rolling, and he's kind of a part of it because it just makes everybody's life easier. But that was a surprise to me because 2 years ago, it was like, why did you bring him here? Like, what's the deal? And you didn't really see it. But then last year, like, this is why you brought him here. It took a different scheme or a different coach or a different, whatever, and you're pulling it out of him. And I thought last year he was a huge part of you being in the fourth place team in the Big 12 and going to the NCAA tournament and all those things and all that. But I just wasn't prepared for that for this year to look much like the very first year. That part has surprised me.
Yeah. I'll share that one with you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that question. Austin was asking for a quick update on any new expectation on a football schedule release. I know we touched on this just a few days ago, but becoming any clearer, or are we still kind of in the same standby pattern we were?
I think you'll get it by February 1, which really points to next week. I think you'll, because you're starting to see now. I mean, like, I bet next week is your week. But you're starting to see, like, they moved TCU in North Carolina to Labor Day Monday. There's starting to be some plans made and some time slots filled and all that. So, and you don't even have your normal, schedule yet. And you're, before long, you're going to start getting your special days squared away on, like, hey, these games are going to be on the off days, and we're going to have, all the stuff. So I think it's imminent.
Okay,
good
deal.
Think. Yeah.
Roberto asked about that as well. Thank you all for those questions. Jason with an interesting question. Going back to a pass catcher conversation, who will be our leading receiver next year?
I would certainly think that Caleb Douglas probably has would be the easy answer there. I think that
on it.
Yeah, I think your new tight end, Terrence the Goat, could have something to say about it.
Really?
Reggie Virgil. Yeah, I think he'll be. I think he'll be much like Conyers in that they'll use him in a variety of different ways. But I think Leftwich is. I think we'll throw it maybe a bit more next year, just in general. But then obviously Reggie Virgil is factors in, so, as does Coy Aiken. So, but I think Caleb Douglas is your answer.
Okay. Thank you for that question, Jason. This one from Frank: is Big 12 basketball weak this year?
No, no, not at all. I don't think it's as good as it's been. I think that the back end of your league is weaker than it has been in years past. That's not your fault, but I think there's a pretty big group there when you start talking Colorado, Arizona State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. I think BYU and Utah can maybe be in that category. And again, you've got some wins over these teams. So before you start feeling too good about what we are, what we've done, this and that. I mean, a lot of what you've done is against that group right there, or is what you're about. TCU could be in that group. Cincinnati could also be in that group. I mean, I've named half the league here, but Iowa State is not weak. And I don't know if anybody's watched Houston. They are the opposite of weak. I mean, my God. What they did to Utah the other night should be illegal. You can get arrested for that in a lot of states, man. It's like, not only we're going to turn it over, we're going to take it away from you, but you don't get to pass, you don't get to shoot. In fact, we're gonna like screw you up mentally so bad that you're gonna forget how to dribble. And you're going to forget that this is the game that you've always known called basketball, and we're just going to do what we want to you. It was the wildest thing. I mean, they turn it over like 26 times. I mean, could not execute. No, I mean, it's like, here, you take it. No, you take it. No, I'll take it. Hey, you know what? You're open. No, and then there's like 4 people that steal the ball. Well, it's just wild.
I mean, that's about 3 games worth of turnovers for most teams that are
that are worth
that are worth anything.
Iowa State is very good. They could win a national championship. Houston can do the same. I think your problem is that your Baylor's, your Kansases, depending on some nights. I think Texas Tech has kind of been in this category a little bit. Like there's that next tier that I think is pretty good. I don't know if you're necessarily national championship quality. The SEC's got you beat with maybe more teams that are at the top end of this deal. But it's not weak. Every win is to be celebrated. So yeah, I think, but that's the way I would kind of describe it, I guess. Arizona is not weak either, by the way. So
Jeffrey asks, do we look like we're ready to challenge for a Big 12 title? Do we look like we're ready to challenge for a Big 12 title to you so far?
Is this round ball or is this football?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Ask me after you play both games versus Houston. What it's going to take is you're going to have to win at least one of those. You will probably have to go win in either Tucson or Lawrence, and then probably not lose, the rest of the way. They're not going to lose many games here. Their schedule is about to get tougher, but they're not going to lose many games here, and you've already lost 2. You're going to get 2 opportunities against them, to which you, again, I would say you at least have to split. I don't like the matchup.
Yeah.
It scares me on how you will handle, and maybe I'm the one that, maybe we'll see kind of how it plays out. But I think you must at least split with those guys. And I just saw that movie up close last year, and it wasn't Utah-esque, but they I mean, it was rough, and you're going to get that. You're going to get to play in that sandbox a week from this weekend or whatever. That's where you are next weekend. That's your next road trip. So that's what I would tell you. Are you prepared? I don't know if I think you are legit in all caps title contender just yet. If you beat Houston in one of these 2 games, I think so, but there's just not much margin for error because Iowa State and Houston are not losing many games, and you've already got 2 on your ledger, including one of those to the aforementioned Iowa State.
There you go. Yeah. All right, thank you for that question. Let's see here. We'll switch gears and hit the portal. Had several asking about, let's see, we had Robert, we had Eric, we had John, among others, Caden as well. Asking about updates on new names to know as far as portal targets, if there are any. And one name mentioned by more than a few this week, Calvin Simpson Hunt. Anything to update regarding that name or others we should be aware of?
No. I think, Calvin Simpson Hunt was committed to you. Was that been 2 years ago? I think if Ohio State wasn't in the playoffs or he gets in the portal back in mid-December, early December, whatever, I think you jump all over him and you're thrilled to get him. I think they couldn't wait, and I think that there is no spot for him here. I think they did really well in the portal. You could even make the argument that they went and got better, more proven players with more experience because he's still a young player with it's still kind of on the potential part of it. And so I think that because I was curious about this one myself, but I think that this ship has sailed. So
gotcha. Okay.
I think any kind of portal names now that Amari Evans is now elsewhere, I think this is all about what it looks like in mid to late April, whenever the next window opens up. And again, even then, I'm not sure if you'll have room to acquire to bring in. Now, something may dictate itself. And again, the Micah Hudson thing is fascinating too, because you've got to have a spot.
Right.
Somebody, if he gets everything squared away and this is what you decide you want to do and you get to May, I mean, you may literally go, okay, if we bring him back, I got to tell somebody, peace out. I mean, so if it goes that long and it's been undecided and all that stuff, but that's where we're at on the portal. I think it'll be the late window if anything were to be tweaked. But right now, I think you're solid.
Cool. All right. Thank you for that question. This question regarding Darion Williams, John and Ben both touching on him. Ben says D5's had a stretch of tough games lately. Is that because of injury, defensive focus, poor play by him, a combination? John asks, is D5 off due to his change in hairstyle? Anything else you can come up with? Chris, what do you think the story's been here recently for a couple of tough outings? And I just got to point out again, this is on the heels of not too long ago, him taking over a game and closing out a win. So I just want to make sure we're keeping that in the proper context, but not the easiest pass for him the last few times up.
At some point soon, he will remind everybody that everything's just fine. Whether that's this weekend or early next week or next weekend or whatever it is. I mean, at some point, but I can't. I think it's fair to wonder if he's 100% healthy. I think also it's worth mentioning that he'd been rolling so much. We end up on another team scouting report, and they see exactly what you like to do, and then like, hey, let's take this away. Let's see if some of these other dudes can, because now what may happen is like, okay, hey, this freshman coming off the bench, he's really good at these things. Let's turn the water off there. And then maybe that opens things up for D5 again, to kind of revert back. Everybody can't take away everything. Or they can try, but it's certainly unlikely that you can get that done. So it's just part of the ebb and the flow, I think, of how the grind of a Big 12 season. Yeah. And you think about it, you still have a long ways to go here. You've got another 5 to 6 weeks of 2 games a week and a lot of travel and then a conference tournament. So there's a long way to go. And so that's part of it too, is there's some ups and downs, but I'm hopeful that maybe like the extra, you play on a Tuesday night and you don't play till Sunday this week. Maybe there's some extra day in there to kind of, get back going, and then you don't play again until Wednesday. So this is as close to like a bye or a mini break there. It feels like there's an extra day or two in here where you can kind of, chill out and maybe try to get your legs back under you a little bit.
All right. Thank you all for those questions. This question here from Mike. Any updates on Barron's recovery? Hearing it might have been worse off or more complicated than anticipated. Either one of those things right, or am I off? Is there anything to update us on?
I would tell you he's out of his sling, and I think that's actually way more sped up. I think he's, he's doing Circle K commercials and for Pepsi products, and but no, I haven't. Oh yeah. He's gotten some grief because it's like I think some people are pointing out like, dude, why are you promoting Pepsi, man? You're a Northerner or what? Because
I was gonna say, is his acting falling short, or I didn't know why?
No, I think it's pretty solid, man. It's pretty solid. Okay. Yeah, it's
good for him.
But yeah, shout out to Dr. Pepper. Here at Locked On, we are pro. I don't know, Coke, Dr. Pepper products, not Pepsi. That's for you Yankees out there. And
shout out to Hose Water. I'm probably the biggest endorser of just little hose water, well water, whatever you got.
Sure. I mean, there's that saying that like for coaches, it's like you want a kid that drinks out of the hose off your team, not the kid that's like their mom is bringing them a Gatorade in the 3rd inning.
Got your mineral infused vitamin water, sweetie.
Yeah. Here you get no. Where's a hose, or like where's a dirty like water fountain? Yeah, that's I'm all about it. Anyways, I think actually you could make the argument that he's a bit ahead of schedule. I think I'll stay away from was the surgery worse off or this and that. I mean, again, it was elective. We'll see what the rehab looks like. There is an unknown here, and that's just the reality of it, what this looks like.
Always was going to be an unknown.
Yep, correct. Yep, and that's why it was elective, and that's why and I'm really tired of people as they lay out this next season, and we start early top 25s and all these things. Feel free to criticize Baron Morton, or feel free to criticize he wasn't this or that, as long as you offer up the context of his offensive line struggled mightily, that he played with potentially needing some sort of help there, and that they did win 8 games, under him. So it's I've already kind of sick and tired of everybody kind of tossing him aside like he just sucked. No, he didn't.
That wasn't the reality.
Yeah, and people, I don't know. It's just I don't think there's enough people paying attention to all the context of how we got there. But maybe I'll make some mistakes and talk about other people's quarterbacks sucking the rest of this offseason too, to even it out. I don't know.
Possibly. We'll err on that side at least and not feel bad about it. This question from Britt. Can you give us the biggest position battles heading into spring football? Any standing out to you?
I mean, well, How about what would you ask me about the Ohio State potential transfer of Calvin Simpson Hunt?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how about Mo Horn and like all the four guys you just brought in here that play corner or that can play corner? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, a couple of them gotta start, and then like, what does that look like? I think there'll be some very stiff competition. Like,
Bunch of opportunity there too.
absolutely, and I will say, at the time that you're adding them all, you will more than likely need the group in its entirety. Whether it doesn't matter how you rank in that group, if you're one or the fifth or whatever, you still factor in certain packages on special teams. Depending on injury, you're in the lineup and playing more reps, or you're whatever. I mean, all of it. And I don't. You have to be careful about this, but you want to think that you kind of have a feel for what they brought in on the portal, like large in part what your defensive line would look like, what your offensive line starters would look like, what receiver spots would look like. You've just simply added a running back to the mix. I think that group will play, but I think corner. I think maybe you added your kicker, and there'll be some competition at different places, and you're certainly have added plenty of that, but I kind of think you feel pretty locked in with, and then there's the rehabbed guys, the injuries, what does safety look like? What does defensive end or tackle and all that look like based on some of these guys rehabbing and trying to come back? And when can they? Your Duda Bankses, and like there's the Chapman Lewis, there's the Dylan Spencer, there's the Adedire, there's the I mean, on and on it goes. Where does all that, kind of, look like? And when do they get a chance to compete for a position battle?
There you go. All right. Thank you for that question. Looking forward to that. We'll be here just around the corner before we know it. Jason asks, very scientific question. Let's get down to brass tacks. Favorite place to eat a steak in the LBK, Chris Level?
Well, my back porch. I can cook the hell out of a ribeye. I mean,
let's go.
Yeah, I mean, so that I often say that, because and you go get a good ribeye with some thickness to it and all that stuff. It's like, I mean, it's not cheap, but I'm like, with what you go, but I'll
ain't cheap and cheap ain't cool.
right.
Salt and pepper, man. Have you got a preferred seasoning?
I will doctor it just a titch, yes, because I put a little Worcestershire on it, just to give, and then a little salt and pepper, and I think that's what me and my family enjoy. If I was going somewhere, I'm preferential here. I'm not anti like double nickel or Kegel's is great and all that, but we get a lot of support with this show and others from our fellas at Las Brisas. And that's where you hire coordinators. And that's where you take your
cornerbacks.
All the things, right? So shout out to the boys at Las Brisas. And it's like a block away from where my in-laws live. So
there you go.
Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, they do a good job. So I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah, I
think so. Yeah. And I love the first answer because I just share that with you. The back porch is where it's happening. Of course.
Damn
patio.
Right. Yep.
Of course, I'm privileged to have a freezer full of High Plains Prime, 3CJ Cattle Company. Hit the QR code on the screen if you're watching on you. I'm just kidding. I don't have a QR code. That would have been a great idea.
That's right. Because I might purchase some ribeyes if you're selling. Yeah.
Let's talk after the show. I've been begging you to for years, and maybe this time around we'll do it. All right. Thank you for that question. Couple more before we skedaddle, to use an industry term. Andrea, something you could change about the college football playoff, Chris? Is there an easy answer? I've got one easy answer for me.
Well, they're gonna, and that be prepared, because that you're gonna start to see more of this. It's gonna change. So I guess which variation of that do we want to get changed? Because I mean, okay, do we talking the 4-team one? Are we talking the 12-team one? Are we talking the 14-team one that we're about to get discussed and probably pushed through and in place for 2026? I kind of wish there was more home games. I thought that was great.
Yes,
I wish they would figure out a way to. I think big picture, no matter what format in the playoff, I think we will start to see, and I'm kind of rooting for this, and I think this is really something that needs to happen. They maybe need to push this season, the whole thing, up a bit, like to where we start playing, and maybe like the August 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd is where it starts, just because there's just too much time that elapses, and I think that's a problem, because you're not pushing it further, because then you start really competing with the NFL. You're not going to do that. You will lose. And so I think that if you move it up just a bit, I think there's some opportunities. And I mean, heck, man, I mean, who wouldn't rather let's go out there and play a game in August 24th instead of having our last, preseason scrimmage.
Yeah, and move it up to where the freaking national championship is not on a Monday night. Whatever that takes. Whatever weekend has not already been invaded by the NFL on Saturday.
Well, you may have a hard time
to say, but
I don't know if there's one that does exist there. I think you may continue to get that on a Monday night. Yeah, that's the problem.
The home game thing I would ask for more of.
Yeah.
People seem to be like mad at the opening round buys for whatever reason. I'm not so mad at that, actually. I think maybe you should push further into that direction, because I think you could generate some more competitive games on the front end if maybe you even had, I don't know, more buys. But either way, I'm not that mad at that. What I am mad at, and this isn't really a change to the college football playoff, it's mostly just a change that would result in, I guess it would be a change to the playoff, but the result is what I'm really after. And the result would be lessening the impact of rankings, voters, etc., who continue to be so enraptured by a group of 5 season record that includes 1 or 0 losses. And I'm not saying those aren't good teams, but Boise State, as somebody receiving a bye, I don't know who in their right mind would view things that way, other than, an Associated Press writer or something like that. And this stuff trickles into the committee. It all matters. Even those that they say, well, we're not taking them into account, they all make an impact to shape kind of this, view of what the season is. So the group of 5 reserved real estate, I always, kind of had some trouble with. The bigger the playoff, the better, the reservation for the group of 5 guys. But I hate, cutting out some opportunity or advantage for somebody who's been slugging it out in a power conference, Chris, in the name of somebody who hadn't even been close to that. So,
and I do think that part of this 14 team expansion and then automatic bids attached to these leagues,
yeah,
like, the 4-4-2-2-1-1 model or whatever they're calling it. It's like I can't even keep track. Did I say enough numbers there? Does that all equal 14? I hope so. Whatever.
Sure.
But some of that really takes some of the power away from the quote unquote committee. Like we're not asking you to do anything other than just, I mean, like some of this is already like built in and kind of, I think, it removes some, and that's what I think some of these leagues want. We don't really want your opinion. We just want our people in the, invited to the party. Got it? Okay. Yeah. So here's what you're going to do. You fill out these 8, probably 9 spots just to these 2 leagues, and then everybody else, we'll leave. Let's see what's left over. Yeah, that's essentially what you're going to get.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that question, and thank you to everybody for submitting questions once again this week. Appreciate those Matador Mobsters for being out there and taking us up on that invitation, and appreciate everybody for being out there as well. Make sure you get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the everydayers for always riding along with us. Been a great week. Looking forward to a great weekend, and stick around because we will be back on an upcoming episode to set the table for Red Raiders and Cowboys, the Dust Bowl hardwood variety. It's coming up on Sunday. A little atypical context, but hoping we're getting another win from United Supermarkets Arena. Chris, looking forward to visiting with you about that one, and we'll see you for it coming up.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that as well, and we'll talk to everybody next time. Enjoy the weekend, people.
As always, thank you for the time all week long, and yes, have an excellent weekend. For Chris, I'm Casey. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.